Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. So today's video is something different. It's a GRME, a get ready with me. I wanted to do this for a while. I wanted to share with you guys some of my favorite foundation tips and just kind of, I'm just going to show you guys like my foundation routine, like what I do from start to finish. And then I just did a little bit of a quickie eye contour tutorial. It's just super quick. I will go in depth as always and do, you know, a bronzy look probably sometime in the future, but this was just a, you know, kind of an afterthought since I was getting ready anyway. All right, that's it. I want to keep it short. If you guys are new here, welcome to my channel, welcome to my video. I'm Lauren Jade. I'm 57. I have mature, crepey, wrinkly skin with hooded eyes that are slightly downturned. So trust me when I say the struggle is real, and I know we all have different eye shapes and different levels of hoodedness, but I'm always looking for ways to pass my tips and tricks on to you guys, and hopefully you guys too can rock your hooded eye situation. All right, that's it. Let's keep everything short and sweet. And if you guys want to see my get ready with me this morning, my transformation, then just keep on watching and let's get right into this tutorial. All right, I'm going to get the hair up. And the first thing I do is start with my moisturizer. And I don't normally use a primer, like I never ever use a primer, but I'm going to dab just a little bit of this, just kind of mix it together. A little bit of the Benefit Pore Minimizer. I usually never mess with this primer, but I'm going to do it today just like a tiny bit, but 99.99, if not 100% of the time, it's just moisturizer. All right, so I'm going to, my hands are freshly washed, and now I'm just going to pat this moisturizer into the skin, and then I'm going to let that sit. I'm just rolling and tapping that product into the skin. And normally during this time, I would be doing my brows while my moisturizer is soaking in. I'm going to grab a little bit of the Jeffree Star. This is the Lemon Icebox Cookies Lip Scrub. Vaseline or Aquaphor remains on my lips at all times. Unbelievable. Like, unless I'm filming or I'm going out, I am not wearing lip products. I'm wearing Vaseline, chapstick, or Aquaphor. I also like to dab a little bit of this and place it on my eyelid. This is what I do at night as a nighttime moisturizer, because you have to have your eyelids moisturized, right? So that they, you know, so that the skin is soft and supple for the eyeshadow. So I am always tapping. You guys know I live by the tap and press. So I just like to tap in a little bit of the Vaseline. I always make sure I get the inner corners because you guys know that I always, you know, do my bronzer on the inner corner. So you want to get everywhere. Plus, if you guys use MAC's Paint Pot, which I do, it's extremely drying. So dabbing a tiny bit of Vaseline as, you know, underneath that primer really helps on that one sometimes because that primer is drying. Okay, so now what I do is I put on my beauty oils. Now, again, if you're using oils, you know, you don't, obviously you're not using it with a primer. I just threw on that primer, but normally it's just moisturizer and my oils that I use 99.999 times out of 10. So my favorite beauty oils is just what I get on Amazon. This one is the argan oil, and these are organic, so you want to make sure that they're pure and organic. So argan oil, jojoba oil, and then this one is Pro Collagen Rose Facial Oil. So what I do, I'm going to grab this one. So what I do is I take just a couple of drops in this dropper. I place it on the back of my hand. My hand is like a little palette, you know, for all sorts of things. I use it to mix and warm up my pomade, brow pomade, my Anastasia Dip Brow, because you guys know that that's very drying in and of itself. All right, so I'm just placing a few drops of this oil on my face, prior to my foundation. This has been a game changer. Before I did these beauty oils, my foundation was a cakey mess. And I'm going to talk about that when I start to apply my foundation. All right, now I'm just going to let this sit, and I'm going to go to work on my eyes. Eyes are primed. I'm just grabbing a little bit of the Hoola bronzer, and I'm just contouring the eye socket. All right, gonna take a break from the eyes for a second. I went and quickly washed my hands again because now I'm gonna do the foundation. So I'm gonna show you guys some of my favorite foundations. This is the Dior. This is the Capture Totale, and I'm in the shade 032. This one has a pump. Absolutely love this. Now, disclaimer here, I'm not an Instagrammy makeup person, so my foundation actually matches my skin. I know. I can't imagine either, right? But all right, so this is Clé de Peau. This was their old packaging. I got some of their new packaging. It comes in a tube. It is now SPF. This one was not. This was their older version, but I'm in the shade 20B and in the shade 30. So it's a very creamy, velvety. Oh my God, I absolutely love this. My other Ride or Die foundation, and I've been using that for well over a decade, is the Shiseido. This one is the Future Solution XL Total Radiance Foundation. I just got to show this because it is, oh my gosh, look at that. Like, oh. So this one is in the shade R20 or R2, I believe. Yeah, it's R2. And I also have the shade R3, but it's back in the drawer there. And I mix those two because I'm R3 in the summer and R2 in the winter. And they correspond because they're made by the same manufacturer as Clé de Peau. They are corresponding in terms of like this R2 is equal to this B20 and the R3 is equal to my B30 in the Clé de Peau. All right, so what I'm going to do is I always take the foundation and I'm going to mix two colors together, which is typically what I do. And I'm just going to dab a little bit onto the skin. It's going to kind of dab. And then I go into my other foundation, which, hold on, I don't. And now I'm just going to stipple the foundation into the skin, just mainly to distribute the product kind of evenly. I love these stippling brushes. I use these a lot for blush because you just get a more light and airy application. Make sure you get the neck. And then I'm going to switch to a Kabuki Buff and Blend brush. This is the Sigma F80. So what I do with this is, again, tap and press because I want to press that product into the skin. With the foundation and these Buff and Blend brushes, if you just go too crazy and you're just buffing around, I mean, that might work if you're like 22, but when you get older, you know, skin's a little bit different. But in any case, you know, when you're buffing and blending, you want to just do it kind of gently and just kind of push in and just kind of let the brush kind of glide, because too much of this, it's just going to micro exfoliate, and then you're just going to be like lifting up and pushing dead skin around, and it's just going to be like a cakey old mess. Before I started using these beauty oils, prior to my foundation was a cakey mess, and I've never had that problem until after 50. And it's amazing how skin just changes, but the texture changes and everything. So these beauty oils have been a absolute lifesaver. My biggest tip for you guys, if you guys want to avoid that so-called cakey mess of a foundation. And also the other tip is, you know, just pressing and tapping in that product so that you're not like, you know, buffing so, you know, vigorously that you're like micro exfoliating and then pushing that dead skin all over the place, because that, in addition, is going to make the foundation a cakey mess. So I just continue to do this. I take that down into the neck area as well. Mix that in a little bit with the B30 from the Clé de Peau and just dot. I know. If you can't see anything, it's your mind's not playing tricks on you. I'm not an Instagram makeup person. My foundation actually matches my skin tone. I know, shocker, right? I usually go for more of a light coverage, light to medium. So feel free to, at this point, just, you know, build, you know, your coverage to your desired effect that you like. All right, now I'm going to take my dampened beauty sponge. I'm just using a Real Techniques one for today. I've got, you know, a bunch of them. I got the Beauty Blender one, and so you want to make sure that it's not too damp. You definitely don't want any water in there. After I squeeze it out, I always do an extra squeeze with the towel. That will also absorb any excess water. And then I just like to get in there and just kind of tap. Now for me, I use oil-based foundations. So a typical rule of thumb is like, you know, if your primer, you want your primer and your foundation and all of that to kind of match. So if you're using an oil-based primer, an oil-based foundation, a water-based primer, water-based foundation. For me, I just don't pay no mind. I just kind of, you know, just kind of mix my, because this is like technically like a dampened like water in there. But if you had too much, if this was too damp and you were using an oil-based foundation, oil and water will just kind of like separate, and then you'll end up with a cakey mess because your foundation will be separated and just kind of sitting there patchy on your skin. So I always make sure that it's really fully, you know, blended into, really kind of pressed into that skin before I go in with the dampened sponge. And again, you don't want it too damp. So I'm just going to tap and press this. Just kind of bounce this around. Bounce, bounce, bounce. My favorite, I have a ton of concealers, but my favorite one is the NARS Radiant Creamy Concealer, but I'm just going to use this Tarte Shape Tape. So because I'm not an Instagram person, I'm not going to be drawing the 3 stripes here and taking it all the way over here and down here and putting a stripe over here and then putting some over here. I'm just doing my normal, like what I do. So I'm just going to place some of this underneath the eye area. The sputter's all over the place, so I have a heck of a time with that. And then I'm just going to tap this in. I like to also use my fingers because the warmth of the fingers also really warms up and softens the product and just kind of pushes it into the skin. I'm using a Kevyn Aucoin concealer brush. This is a dual-ended one, just to get the concealer, manipulate it, getting it as I want it, exactly where I want it. And I'm not going to do any baking for today's video, so just so you know. But if I were going to do any baking, I would just do like the under eye area. And I'm just going to go back in with my Beauty Blender and then bounce a little bit more. All right, I'm going to go in now and kind of set this lightly with the Chanel powder. I'm in the shade 10. This also comes, by the way, with a mini brush, so it's good for, you know, throwing it in your bag and taking it with you. I'm using a It Cosmetics powder brush. It's going to tap that in there, and I'm just going to tap this lightly. Next thing I do is just use a light bronzer. I always use 2 bronzers as well. I know. I'm taking a Kevyn Aucoin large powder brush, and I'm going to use this Kevyn Aucoin. This is the Neo Bronzer in the shade Sienna. I believe it's like a warm coral. It's like a bronzer, blush, and kind of highlight trio. I'm just going to mix them together just to warm up the face. And because I'm not an Instagram makeup person, I'm not going to be drawing the brown stripes on the outsides of the face with the white stripes on the inside. Although I will be doing a parody video of Instagram makeup. Been wanting to do that for a while, so if you guys are not following me on Instagram, you'll want to do so because you'll get to see that video. I'm going to go in with the NARS Summer Lights palette, and I'm using a La Mer powder brush. I'm going to grab the bronzer and just bronze it up a little bit more now. The first one is just kind of warm up the face and add a little bit of color. I've got some Guerlain bronzers and Dior bronzers that are also perfect for that as well. I need to do a bronzer video because I have literally like some of the best bronzers out there. And I've got so many because I'm a real bronze person. I'm going to grab a little bit of the KKW brightening powder in the shade 1 and just kind of put that underneath the eyes. Blush, I'm going to go in with the Charlotte Tilbury blush in the shade Ecstasy. I'm using a Tom Ford blush brush. I like to take the blush up pretty high because my cheekbones are high anyway. Got that Indian ancestry thing going on, so I just like to get that up there, and then I just kind of, when I go back in and kind of dust around, it kind of meshes in with the bronzer that I have going on out here. I'm going to go ahead and top it with a little bit of the Milani blush in the shade Luminoso. I have all the Milani blushes. They are just absolutely stunning. I'm using a Sigma stippling brush, and I'm just going to stipple this kind of like right up on top, like really high. Right there on the tip of that cheekbone right there. This is just going to add some lift and a little bit of shine because it does have a little bit of sheen to it, but it's such a beautiful peachy warm coral color, and these blushes are like $6. They come with a mirror and a little brush. Just, I mean, like amazing. Like, yeah. Once I get all of that done, I go back with the beauty blender again and tap and press. On my lips, by the way, I'm wearing my Jeffree Star I'm Nude topped with MAC's Creme de Nude and my Holy Grail NYX lip liner in the shade Nude Suede Shoes. I am a OG MAC Spice and Myth chick, and if you guys were around in the 90s, you guys know about that Spice and Myth. Yes, I admit it. I'm still that Spice and Myth chick. It's been like, what, 25 years I've been doing that? It's still crazy for me to see this nude craze because, like, that's like what we did all through the 90s, so it's weird to see it come back again and suddenly be like this new thing. All right, the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to spray the face, and then I'm going to do the highlight, then I'm going to finish the eyes, so this is not the end of the video like normally. So I'm going to spray real quick. All right, while there's still a little bit of dampness, I'm going to put on a little bit of highlight, and this is not a glowing to the gods type highlight. This one in the NARS palette is kind of a subtle, little light, natural type of a highlight. It's not like my Ofra highlights and some of the others that are just glowing to the gods. All right, I'm going to grab this chocolate shade from the smaller Kylie Bronze palette, and I'm just going to do a little smoky wing. I'm just smoking it up a little bit over here, just making a little bit of smoke in there. And then you want to take like an angled liner brush, and you want to follow along on your lower lash line and just kind of like as if that line were extending up, and just kind of draw like a little wingtip, and then just bring it over and connect it. And then smoke it up a little bit. And then I'm just going to mix a little bit of this Topaz and this Tiger Eye shade. One is kind of a warm tone, the other's kind of a cool tone, and just kind of do a little bit more contouring up and through here. Always catfishing. Get that high up through the socket. And the look wouldn't be complete if I didn't grab a little bit of my MAC's Holy Grail shade as a inner corner highlight. And there you have it. That completes the look. I may spray my face one last time. That always feels amazing. All right, guys, that's it. That completes the GRME, the Get Ready With Me. All right, guys. Thank you guys so much for watching. Mwah! I love you guys, and I will see you in my next one, and I will be back with a Sailor Moon ColourPop tutorial.